in order to help you better understand what factors go into causing and making your bunion hurt, I'm going to use the skeleton and demonstrate for you how these mechanical foot problems affect your bunion. The first thing to note in the normal model is that the toe is relatively straight ahead. When you come into the office with your bunion, you've already seen a bump on the side of your foot. But the question is, what's underneath that bunion? When we look at that, both through my clinical exam as well as through X-ray, what we find is that your big toe is going over more toward the second toe, and your first metatarsal separates from the second. When that happens, even without growing any bone here, you can see that a bump will start to show on the side of this joint. Next is that the whole first segment here, including your great toe and the metatarsal behind it, often become excessively mobile. And as this happens, greater and greater separation occurs between the first and second metatarsals. The toe begins to drift over. But in the hand, if we didn't have this mobility, you wouldn't be able to touch your thumb to your little finger. But when we do that, look what I've created. A bump on the side, very similar to the bunion that you present with. And unless you're going to write with a pencil or try to do so with your foot, you don't need that hypermobility. So where does that hypermobility come from? Why does the foot start to drift over like this? What happened here during your life that wasn't there when you were a youngster? And that answer often comes from examining the rest of the mechanics of the foot. And many times we see a flexible flat foot or tendency to go excessively in that direction associated with the development of bunion. Once we determine the extent of that problem, I can then help you plan for whether conservative measures such as change in your shoes, support on the side of the foot through the shoes, over-the-counter supports and orthotics will help, or whether the problem has progressed to the point where surgical intervention is necessary. So before you return for another visit, I want you to answer these questions for yourself. And that is, has your bunion pain become worse over the last 6 months? Is your bunion discomfort present consistently throughout your day? And finally, has your bunion discomfort forced you to limit the activities that you wish to pursue? Once you answer these questions and think about the presentation you've received today, you return to the office so we can plan the next step for resolving your bunion pain.